quick question for you. I didn't get to ask a question. I was too busy dealing with Cody.
Yeah.
He's gone now, so we can have a regular conversation. Opinions on that franchise deal. I'm sure you've looked at it. It does look like it is going to change the game for, if it goes through. Of course, Donnie gave his opinion yesterday. We'll see it when we see it. But Flo, I think, is working in a Walmart perspective, where I think I've always said this is like Ace Hardware, where we do one thing in the dirt racing world with Dirt Vision and World Racing Group. But Flo, it's like dirt racing is just a part of the store, and they got their wrestling, their basketball, their hockey. And I think that's where they're able to subjugate some money to be able to potentially pay that much. But it is going to change the game if they can start offering that amount and going up potentially.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think of it in general?
I mean, it's a lot to take in. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. I think by 2028, it's going to be a very, very good thing money-wise. But is it sustainable? And, what will the Outlaws do? I think right now the Outlaws have the best package right now. And most guaranteed money and all that.
But even in the 26 package, isn't it still like $180,000 more than what you garnished last year?
Well, I think 26 is $425,000 to win the championship.
Right.
I think so. That's
or the first overall team from last year and this year's average.
Yeah. So 26 to me is really no better for the winner, but it is paying more throughout. Like the lower tiered guys are definitely getting more guaranteed money, but again, that's not adding tow money on top of it. So
right, because that franchise thing is replacing the tow and the point fund and the bonus. Y'all get a tow, a bonus, and points fund.
The Outlaws
correct?
is $350 to win the championship with the bonus, and then I think tow money, depending on how many races we do, is roughly 50 or 60 grand, I think, throughout the year. But like us as champions, we get 1,000 per race, where everybody else gets 500. So
right.
we race 80 times, we get 80.
An additional
the team
80.
gets 80,000. Now the tow money does not go to the drivers; it goes to the teams. Where I feel like the high limit thing, that's going to be negotiated between their teams and drivers, and they'll probably split that 50-50 down the middle if I had to guess. But I don't know how that's going to go.
So then how much did this team take in technically last year, if you're looking at what high limits offering in 26 versus what y'all did last year? With all the tow and everything, about a gross number.
Gross with point fund money, we were like 1.1 million, I think.
Okay.
Like we were like 1.03 or 1.01.
And taking out the winnings,
that's with winnings and point fund money, and then they had the tow money on top of that.
Okay.
So, and then 2 years in a row we brought in $1 million with the point fund money.
Okay, so what they're doing is, what was it, $425 for the champion in 2026?
Yep.
And you're saying last year, what was y'all's point fund and tow bonus combined? No winnings.
No winnings. Well, I would say a rough estimate would be like 410,000. It'd be 60,000 for the tow money, and then the bonus and championship is 350.
Okay. So it's actually very comparable. It's just when you get into the 28 and the 29, that's when they really increase it. But you would think that the Outlaws is going to have some kind of counter.
Well, I mean, they got not plenty of time, but they have a couple years to figure it out.
Right. So. Well, and then the more alluring deal is like your 10th place teams were pretty high. Down there for a high limit. Yeah. That's where it was in the center of the championship.
It's way less separation. It's more like a NASCAR pace schedule. It looks like to me.
Right.
Just more throughout, and you need that for teams to stay on the road.
Right.
But there's more teams than ever staying on the road now. But there's more money than ever, so people are all trying to get what they can.
Well, I would assume you are a hot commodity. If there was any number one draft pick of wanting a team, it would be y'all right now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens. We're very interested to see what the Outlaws have to say about everything, and obviously it's a lot of hearsay right now still. They put that on a piece of paper, but, a lot of things could change in that time span. So is that guaranteed? I just don't know how it's going to work with the extra money for the guys that aren't in the top 10. And the bonus program, like if you win the championship, actually for that season, is it like just a pat on the back, or is it 50 grand, 100 grand? You know what I mean? Like to me, that's got to be worth something. I know it's worth something the following season, but
Well, and then a position where your team, your car owner, your everything that y'all have allotted to, it would take 2 years to even think about getting a charter. Say you want to do 28, 29. Why would you spend? It takes a rough $800,000 a year to stay on the road. Why would you spend $1.6 million for 2 years to maybe get in a spot instead of maybe just purchasing one of those franchisees? Because they're going to be for sale entities, And if somebody wants to sell one for $1 million, that's technically saving you 2 years of travel and racing while you're running the Outlaws. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
For sure, it'll be interesting. And to me, I don't know. It doesn't look very attractive for a team like us to go run another tour and have to kind of eat crow for 2 years, then to start making real money. So that's the tough thing that I think they're gonna have to work out. But they're not gonna want 20 people having franchises. They won't be able to afford to do it. You know what I mean? So they got to have some control and limit it. So it'll be interesting to see, like the whole Roth thing. I think I was told that Roth doesn't keep their charter.
If they don't start tonight, they lose it.
Yeah, so like to me,
and it's like, why not? I mean, you got Zeb Wise out there. Why not put a team together for 1 year if it's so valuable?
Yeah, to me, I would be calling Chase Randall and make that the 83 JR.
I said that like 6 months ago.
Like just in my opinion, it's going to be worth at worst case scenario a couple $100,000 probably. You know what I mean?
At
to
least
sell to somebody. So,
at least.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I think that Roth deserves it. Their driver wanted to go back, and they probably didn't feel like they could put a team together that was going to be maybe competitive. It's not just a driver; you need a whole team behind it.
Staffing.
Brent Ventura wanted to go home, I believe, and not race full time, so they didn't really have anybody to put together. So.
Well, and then the other interesting thing is they said this franchise thing is to make it more like professional sports, like basketball, football. But when you get into franchisees, you also have players' unions in these other industries, and drivers' unions if you're trying to escalate it, because now you're taking care of the teams, and obviously drivers are a dime a dozen. You can throw them wherever you want. But I do think that the franchisee is going to make it more alluring to put a good driver in a car, because if you want to move up in getting money, you have to win.
Oh, yeah.
So it could combat the rent-a-ride scenario that's slowly creeping in as well.
It's top-heavy, our sport. You look at the earnings. Yeah, there's more money in the sport, so teams make $200,000, but everything costs twice as much too. So if you made $100,000 in 2010 or $200 today, it's no real difference. You're probably still negative more. So you start bringing in $500,000 a year. I think that's pretty good for a team. But there's only about 3 or 4, or maybe 5 that are able to do that. So.
Well, I think that's what was impressive with their downscaling later in the years, how much the 10th place teams are going to be bringing in. It's just the importance.
I truly think, just like you work a job 9 to 5, that you get an increase every year of 2 or 3%. Like, in my opinion, I think everything gets more expensive every year, so I think there needs to be a small increase just to keep up with the times, in my opinion. Gradual growth is probably a lot easier than, say, doubling the point fund per year.
Well, and that's the thing, what makes them grow is the drivers. Just like in football and basketball, the players on the field is what sells the tickets. So, owners are needed, yes, but then drivers that are draws are important as well.
You need everybody, right? You need owners, and you need...
where would the Outlaws be if they lost you, Macedo, and Hod to high limit? It would be over instantly.
And if Donnie retired, you know what I mean? Different look. So I think they're aware of that, and, that's why they stepped up that bonus program a couple of years ago, and... it just tough. It's in a weird spot. We're kind of professional, but not professional. And, we go to places like Charlotte and Knoxville, and we come to places like this. There's a big variance between what we do and tracks like
the infrastructure.
Tracks like this can't survive. The local racing is dead. It's too expensive to run a racetrack, and not enough people come in the stands like they used to. So it's in a weird place. To me, having the 2 series, there's not enough good tracks to split between the 2 series. Like, if there's only one big series, I think you can make a really nice schedule and race at all good racetracks, and have the Premier, and then maybe have the ASCS or the All-Stars, get the race at some of the nice tracks, but maybe then get the race at the lower tracks.
Would the dream scenario at this point really be some kind of correlation between the 2 series and have an ASC, NFC? At this point, it's either one dies or the other, or it's something like that,
Yeah, I think it's better. Competition's always good, but, each series...
Like you said, there's so many tracks. There's only so many opportunities.
Yeah, there's only so many good racetracks that could hold the fans, and we could really, truly grow the sport, Us going to a racetrack and getting 2,500 people is great, but, you go to Supercross or Monster Jam, not even talking to the NFL.
60, 80,000.
Yeah, they're in arenas, I have a, big plan or idea, that we could get there, but we need the money that Flow has. They got obviously a lot of financial backing, and they're just trying to grow their company. Like World Racing Group's self-funded. They don't have hedge fund people like they do behind Flow.
Right. It's the hardware store versus Walmart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the analogy, but exactly that I'm looking for, but that there's a bigger pot of money behind Flow than what World Racing.
Well, what I've always said is like racing is just like a department in the store of Flow, where they got the wrestling, they got everything. Where this is the only department that this store has.
We only have racing and dirt vision, but they have a lot of entities too, though. You know what I mean? They got Dirt Car and Super Dirt Week and Volusia, and they got the midget series.
No, but I mean, Flow has these things too. They got USAC, they got.
No, I know.
Lucas Oil late models.
They don't own USAC. You know what I mean? They don't own Lucas.
This is true.
You know what I mean? They maybe sponsor, or it's on their streaming service, but all the ones I name, the Outlaws own.
Yeah.
So they're spread a lot of different ways. So we're not always going to get all the attention.
It's funny we say Flow like they own High Limit, but in a way that's what it feels like.
Well, I don't think anything would be possible without, Flow's support and Kyle's support, just sponsorship-wise. And I don't think High Limit happens without Kyle.
And the scary thing is NASCAR support, I think, too, because a screenshotted a literal NASCAR ad sponsoring High Limit. The best sprint car drivers are back. That was the actual sponsored ad from NASCAR, their social media.
Yeah.
So that's a big hitter to have in your corner as well.
Yeah.
So what if NASCAR wants High Limit to take over? They just pull the lease from Charlotte on the Outlaws and kill the World Finals.
Yeah, I don't think that will happen.
I'm just saying, if they want to be that cutthroat, they could. If they want one to win over the other.
But to me, that's not connected to a NASCAR weekend. You know what I mean? Maybe it was connected to a NASCAR weekend, but say Kyle can't run that race, it's during air. Christopher Bell can't run that race. So to me, they can't use that to their advantage.
But it's a big event of the Outlaws that they could cut the lease on.
They could, but I think Brian Carter, he's a pretty
smart guy,
conservatively smart guy. That's he's built something pretty awesome there, and I think the whole community, the whole just area, really loves World Finals. I think a lot of people go there, and it helps stimulate the economy, just like any other big event there.
Right. Just depends on how low people will go, I guess, on this deal.
I think that relationship's good. They've been building that thing up maybe 10 years ago, but I think that's pretty solidified. But you never know how it'll work, but we'll see. We'll see. Just like a lot could change in a couple years.
Right. I mean, I'm sure High Limit would love to have a race at Knoxville, but because of the Knoxville Outlaw relationship, they don't.
Yeah.
So that chip's already been pulled on the Outlaw side. How long will it take before High Limit and their connections start pulling chips on the Outlaw side? That's the only reason I'm thinking of something like that could happen, because the Outlaws have technically already pulled that with High Limit in a way.
Yeah, Eldora, Knoxville, Huset's. Those are the big three, that hold a lot of weight. Williams Grove's always going to be World of Outlaws. There's no questioning that. So
Port Royal was lost because of the affiliation. So those type of moves are already being made. Technically,
again, there's sacrifice on both sides. High Limit would love to be at Knoxville and Huset's, and the National Open be a High Limit race, you know what I mean? But they're not. But we would love to be at Port Royal and Lernerville and some other great racetracks that pack the stands and pay good money. So
okay,
give and take, but there's sacrifice in every end, and it's not all good. More money is good, but that's not the answer to everything as well.
Right.